Today I want to talk about the Snowbirds accident, and I want to mix in a little bit of Derren Brown. If you're not familiar with Derren Brown, he is a sort of magician, sleight of hand, illusionist, and mind control expert. So he uses NLP, suggestion, magic, etc. in order to first of all, pull off magic tricks, but also to explain how the mind works and how this power of illusion works. And make no mistake about it, he's put on by the elites to do this so that you understand what they're doing to us and how all of this works, which is why I want to bring it to your attention. So if you want to understand what's going on here, you can go and watch some of Derren Brown's videos. Now, I do caution you to be aware of what this content is, because he doesn't explain everything, and he's a master illusionist. And so a lot of the content that he puts out contains subliminal messaging and mind control tactics that you may not be aware of are actually being implanted on you as you watch his show that he's not telling you about. You know what I mean? Okay, so in this episode, Trick of the Mind, I want to bring this to your attention because he explains how subliminal messaging works. And in this example, he meets Simon Pegg, which is a UK actor. And he, oddly enough, was one of the actors who was in Shaun of the Dead. And that was about zombie apocalypse. So this particular trick, he brings Simon into a room and tells him that it's easier to convince somebody that the gift you got them is what they wanted than it is to find out what gift they actually want. Alright, so I'm re-recording this segment of the video because it got blocked from my UK viewers. If you want to see the full video, there's a link in the description box to the video on BitChute. And so what Derren Brown does is he brings Simon Pegg into a room that is decorated with the idea of manipulating his mind so that he thinks BMX bike. So he's influencing him into wanting BMX bike. So some of these elements in the room that, you see the double circles, and there's a spinning double tape deck in the background. Derren Brown's hiding it in this image, but you see a lot of the sort of bike symbolism in the room. And then while he's talking to him, he puts his hand on pulse points and he taps his shoulder when he says certain words that are associated with bike. And the words that he uses, such as pumped up, bike, BMX, he uses words that sound very much like bike or bicycle or BMX, impacts the association by tapping his shoulder, which is an NLP tactic. It's called anchoring. So this is an example of how they use mind control using numbers and letters, words, trigger points, colors, shapes, all of these elements they use on a regular basis in order to control us into thinking that there are certain things that we want. This story came on the news, and it's very difficult at first glance to tell that this is part of the programming. All of it was filmed, which is not usual, and they get the footage right away, which is not usual. So these people who, filmed the whole thing were planted there, and the crash itself was planned. And so this is all part of a ritual. What I'm going to do is point out in text some of the smaller codes. I'm not going to be able to catch them all. There's quite a lot, so if you catch some that I missed, please feel free to comment below in the comment section. But yeah, so if you want to catch the codes, watch the video, don't just listen to it. And then at the end, I'm going to point out some of the commonalities and break down these codes and come to some sort of conclusion. So if you're not familiar with the story, I'm going to show you the news report.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a tragic story out of BC. A member of the Canadian Forces Snowbirds is dead and another badly injured after their jet crashed into a home and burst into flames. Videos on social media show two snowbirds flying side by side before they separate. One of the planes nosediving shortly after. Pictures on social media show a plume of smoke coming from a residential area not too far away.
It was a well-organized scene as far as with regards to establishing a perimeter, a safe zone, and again, credit to the neighbors in the Brocklehurst area. They're very respectful of established security zone and allow our people to do the good work that we do. There was a tremendous amount of cooperation between agencies, including Kamloops Fire Rescue, RCMP, the Air Force Crash Truck, BC Ambulance, and military personnel. With regards to the damage, there was a large amount of debris in around a three home proximity. The one home was significantly damaged by fire, and all agencies were working together appropriately.
The victim of the crash has now been identified as Captain Jennifer Casey. She joined the Snowbirds in 2018 and served as a spokesperson. Prior to that, she was a reporter and producer with News 95.7 in Halifax. Jennifer grew up in Halifax and graduated with a degree in journalism from Dalhousie University. The plane was flying as part of Operation Inspiration, which started in Nova Scotia earlier this month, and features the jets flying over Canadian cities, hoping to boost morale as Canadians continue to struggle with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, hundreds saw what happened in Kamloops. Here's what one person had to say earlier today.
We were just out going around, just trying to find something to do. We noticed there's a lot of attention on the airport, so we pulled over, and we noticed the Snowbirds are still in town, so we kind of set up at the end of the runway, and there was a bit of a delay because it was rainy, and so no one really knew what was going on. And then we kind of saw the jets were starting to taxi onto the runway, so then we went over to the end of the runway and we sat there and we were watching, and they took off, and it looked perfectly normal, and the one jet kind of flew away from the other jet, and it just looked like they were kind of putting on a show or whatever. I've never really seen fighter pilots, so I didn't know what they were doing, but it did a complete left-hand barrel roll and pointed straight towards the ground. And even after they ejected, I don't think anyone really realized what had really happened. I ended the video right there and jumped in my car and went over there to make sure, and I noticed there's a pilot on the roof and went over to the house, and as I got to the house, there's a couple walking out of their backyard, and I asked them if there's anyone else or any animals. They said no, that was it. It didn't look like his parachute came out properly. He definitely came straight down on the roof, and that's not something anyone wants to have to deal with. But I mean, when you see someone that needs help like that, you definitely have to go over and give it a shot. No, I'm very proud of the community and how we all responded with that. It was quite humbling.
Witness Julia Kenton lives in Kamloops, BC. She heard the crash near her neighborhood. Julia, thanks for giving us your time here on CTV News Channel. Can you walk us through what you heard, what you saw?
Yeah, so I was just in my room. I had just gotten changed from my shower, and we heard this kind of, them coming through, that big loud noise we get echoing off of the mountains. And so we were like, oh, we should go watch them. And just as I'm walking outside, we hear this huge boom, and we come out and we just look down the street, and there's just this big huge thing of flames and smoke. And of course our neighbors that we're pretty close with, she's a nurse, he is a firefighter, and he was on call. And so she immediately tries to get through 911, doesn't, so she just calls his station right away and says, hey, there's a fire, like, you need to get down here. And we're all running, like, I don't even have shoes on, running down. And yeah, it was quite a scene. There was the fire, of course, but then one of the pilots had landed on a roof. And so there was the two people up on the roof with him, and it was quite emotional, quite scary. I was shaking.
I can't imagine, as you say, it went from one moment of let's go watch the Snowbirds to unbelievable devastation. You mentioned that one of your neighbors there is a nurse. Were you able to have a chance to speak with her in terms of her assessment of the situation?
I'm not sure. She was more concerned about her husband going into the fire. I think then the guy on the roof, he was being helped by 2 others, and the ambulance came nice and quick. So
what have you been hearing from other people there? And I guess, what was going through your mind when all of this unfolded?
well, hopefully that everyone got out safe, which was, I think everyone got out safe, so that was good. Mostly about the pilot and if there was anyone else in the plane, and I heard that there was another female in the plane that did not make it, but that's also just assumption from what I've heard. What I heard about the guy on the roof, that he may have broken his back and that he's gotten taken to the hospital, so...
This was something, as we've been speaking with other people as well, it was something that to help lift everyone's spirits as they've been there trying to let Canadians know that they're there and they're supporting them and they're supporting the frontline workers and healthcare workers. And then this ends up happening, Julia. What is it, having them being able to fly over in the skies as they were doing yesterday, what does that mean to you?
It was really neat. It was a cool experience. They came right, because we live right by the airport, right? They came right through and you could just hear them and you could hear people cheering, and it was just such a happy moment. And then for it to be, so tragic the next day, it's so sad how that kind of works, how, you can boost someone's morale one day and the next a tragic accident.
I'm sure, of course, this is going to be an extensive investigation, the area being cordoned off right now. How far are you from where the crash site is?
Yeah, it's just down the street, probably 8 or 9 houses, and then, the next street on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they had it all blocked off. I couldn't walk down the street, really. They had to redirect traffic. It was quite a busy street here for a while. It's calmed down now, but... everyone seemed to kind of want to migrate near it, and they were trying to get everyone out of the way because of gas lines and stuff. So, but yeah, it was quite scary.
Can you describe to us when you did arrive on the scene, when you heard the bang, what you were looking at?
Oh, it was quite interesting. There was, you could see like a part of the plane was right in front of the house. The house was just engulfed with flames. There was an actual part of the plane across the street. It was just kind of broken apart. People, just trying to migrate towards it, which is interesting because you think people would want to back away, but they were just wanting to help, right? We have such a nice, happy, graceful neighborhood around here that they just wanted to come together and help as much as they can. Mm-hmm. And, we had to get everyone out of the way. But, it was quite a scene.
Well,
sure.
We're so sorry that this has happened, of course, overall, and then that you've happening to witness this and see it there. But again, incredible how the neighborhood coming together to want to help and make sure that everybody is safe. And that's just, that's just a part and parcel of what Canadians do.
Area where the plane came down, and he joins us now to talk some more about that. Josh, what happened and how? Walk us through your earlier part of the day.
Well, as you can see, the house right behind me was the one that got hit. The plane pretty much did a nosedive right into the corner of the house. Thankfully, the residents were in their backyard watching the planes take off, so luckily no one was hurt. All of the neighbors around here are safe and okay. We're pretty shaken up, but yeah, pretty
I'm so glad that you told us that the people whose home where that plane came down are okay, because we weren't sure about that, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear that news. Tell me a little bit more about sort of how you heard about it, and where were you at the time? Were you home?
I was actually 3 minutes away from my house. We had just pulled out of the driveway and left, so wasn't too far. I immediately did a U-turn and tried to come home because my father is here, and I wanted to make sure he was okay. But yeah, it was a big fireball, and the tail of the plane, which you can also see landed in my front yard, kind of came flying right at the house, and it actually hit the power pole at the end of the driveway, spun around, and came to land where it is now.
So is your dad okay?
Yes, my dad is okay. He was sitting on our back deck. He heard the crash, and then out of the corner of his right eye, he's seen one of the pilots land on our neighbor's roof.
What did your dad do? I mean, what was he thinking when he saw this? What did he do?
Well, it all happened so fast. I got on the phone with him right away just to make sure he was okay. But yeah, he was pretty shaken up, and all the neighbors, we all kind of came together to make sure we were all okay and help each other out. We're a strong neighborhood here, fortunately.
Tell me about the damage done to the neighborhood, because you mentioned clearly the home across from you has been damaged. We can't tell how heavily. Were other homes hit by debris as well?
Oh, for sure. There was chunks of metal everywhere. Not only just the big one in my front yard, but there's gauges and little pieces of metal and valves just lying around everywhere in people's driveways, on people's roofs too. So probably still haven't found it all.
We think there might have been two people on that jet, perhaps a pilot and a technician. Have you heard that? Have you seen anything regarding another person?
I cannot 100% confirm, but what I am hearing is that there was two people on the plane. Both of them did eject. One pilot, the one that landed on the roof, I think broke both his legs. And I'm hearing that the other person didn't survive, unfortunately.
Yeah, we haven't heard any confirmation yet of what has happened to the other person. So how are people in the neighborhood doing? I mean, clearly they must still be in shock.
Well, when it first happened, yeah, everybody was definitely on edge. Everybody was coming out of their houses to see what happened and making sure everybody was okay. We had some family friends race over to our house too to make sure we were okay, just because it was so close to us, right across the street.
And your home has not been damaged, right? You showed us what is on your lawn there, but nothing has actually hit your home?
I think there's a couple little cracks in the siding from debris hitting it, but nothing major. We lucked out for sure. No vehicle damage, no house damage.
Now, the planes themselves, you guys knew that the Snowbirds were in the area?
Oh, yes. We were out in the backyard watching the show yesterday. They were doing a great thing going from coast to coast, to boost morale, because the country's been through a very hard time with mass shootings and coronavirus and whatnot. So we really appreciate what they were doing. And this is just such a tragedy that this happened.
And you live quite close to the airport, just to give people an idea of how close this happened to the airport.
The airport is probably a kilometer away from my house, or the end of the runway. So it's kind of, if you buy a house next to a golf course, you might expect it to get hit with a golf ball here and there. But when you buy one close to an airport, you don't expect a plane to crash into it.
I'm sure nobody expects anything like this. It is, well, it's unbelievable. And I'm just really glad that everybody in your neighborhood is safe today, because
Yes.
that could have been, much worse. Middle of the day, right? On a beautiful day, people are outside. And I'm just happy to hear that no one in the neighborhood got injured or worse. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for telling us your story.
Hoping to boost morale as Canadians continue to struggle.
To boost morale, because the country's been through a very hard time with mass shootings and coronavirus and whatnot. So we really appreciate what they're doing. This is such a tragedy.
So, you can boost someone's morale one day and the next a tragic accident.
Incredible how the neighborhood coming together to want to help and make sure that everybody is safe.
All the neighbors, we all kind of came together to make sure we were all okay and help each other out.
Well, it's unbelievable. And unbelievable devastation.
It just looked like they were kind of putting on a show.
Quite a scene, for sure.
Oh, yes. We were out in the backyard watching the show yesterday.
Okay, putting the pieces together. The coded story is 2 Snowbird planes separated, one split off, nose dived into the ground. There was a loud boom. One pilot landed on the roof, broke his legs or his back. The female captain, Jennifer Casey, didn't make it. One house of 3 was on fire. Shaken witnesses Josh Cox, Julie Canton, Corey Pelton described the scene, and neighbors came out together to make sure everyone was safe. All right, Snowbird. Snow represents white or sun, such as the white light. Overwhelm, surround, cover, imprison. The white light that is imprisoned in the cell. Snowbird, imprisoned bird, bird cage. Snowbird is an anagram for rainbows without the D. So rainbow is representing the rainbow realm of the 7 color of their light spectrum. The bang, boom, crash represents the big bang of a new creation. The nosedive represents dive or fall from up high. Typically one dives into water, but this plane dove into the earth. Broke back or broke both legs. Broken is to destroy. Legs, crooked, bend, part, stage of a journey or race on your last legs. A run made by a ship on a single track. Back, behind, or spine. Debris. Debris is trash or rubbish that's left over from a crash, breakdown, crush, break, compared to the cellular trash bags called exosomes, perhaps. A witness or eyewitness, or a shower, as in the shower. Shower is one who shows, a watcher, a spectator, or a mirror. So the 3 homes, one of which was on fire, plus the 8 to 9 houses that the other woman mentioned, that's a total of 12 houses representing the houses of the zodiac. The one that was on fire perhaps represents the destruction of the past house of Pisces. In this story, each of the 4 elements are represented. The burning house is fire, the airport is air, hitting the ground represents the earth, and Kamloops represents the water. So of the 3 main characters in the story, Jennifer Casey, Josh Cox, Julia Canton, each of these have a name starting with JC for Jesus Christ. Jennifer Casey was sacrificed and the other 2 were witnesses. The pilot who was flying the plane survived, killing JC, pilot meaning pilot, the person who killed Jesus. Captain Jennifer Casey, captain represents head. She was killed, sacrificed, kaput, figuratively decapitated. She was a reporter, spokesperson, or messenger, which is an angel, and angels are messengers of light. Jennifer is the feminine form of Jack, and Jack represents the devil, who is the ruler of earth, or the fallen angel. Casey is pronounced Casey or Case E. Case E, case being shell, covering, box, cross, or cube of creation. To encase is also to envelop. The COVID-19 tests are testing for the envelope E gene, E representing the 5th letter of the alphabet, 5 being phi or life or pentagram, which is a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs of man. Gene is generate or generation, therefore 5G is case E. Casey represents the dawning of the new world, the phoenix rising from the ashes. The pilot landed on the roof, pilot being the captain of the ship to steer or govern. Land or landed or landing is come to shore or where the stairs meet the floor. Roof is synonymous with summit, heaven, or sky, or perhaps the dome. So I can't possibly put all of these codes together in a cohesive manner, so you'll have to extrapolate what you can from them, but the gist of what this story represents is the sacrifice of Jesus and or the fallen angels, Lucifer, the devil, in the form of Jennifer Casey representing the 5th generation or the 5G, which is the dawning of the new earth falling into ashes and being reborn. It's the same story over and over and over again. It's basically just about death and regeneration, and this story is similar to the story that's being told through COVID-19 and the symbolism in there. So it's essentially the same story, but what they're basically telling you is that they're going to create a new earth. That's what all of this is about. This is my opinion, and everyone will have different insights based on their own perception. So I encourage you to, get what you can out of it. And if you see something that I didn't see or didn't mention, please feel free to comment below. Thank you.